What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Silver Site. Y'all know why we're here today. Avengers Endgame spoiler review. Hit it. I'll say this one more time before I begin. This is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen Endgame yet and you don't want it ruined for you, please feel free to pause this video and come back to it after you've seen the movie. Endgame starts out with Hawkeye and his family in the backyard. They're cooking out, having a good time. He's teaching his daughter how to shoot a bow and arrow. You know, they're just living life. They're chilling. They're good. Hawkeye has his little ankle monitor on, and Hawkeye's wife calls out to him and says, "Hey, what do you guys want on your hot dogs? Do you want mustard or mayonnaise?" Which I thought was weird because, I mean, who eats mayonnaise on a hot dog? I don't know. Is that like a thing? I've never heard of it. But okay, Mrs. Hawkeye. He turns around and tells his wife what he wants on his hot dog. He turns around and his daughter's gone. He turns back around for his wife, and his wife is also gone. Everybody's gone, basically. And it was crazy because when it happened, it was like a collective hush that befell the audience. Everybody was quiet. And before we even have a chance to realize what's going on or process the emotions of seeing this man's entire family vanishing, the credits roll. So I'm sitting in the theater like, well, I guess we starting out with a bang, I guess, or with a snap. Get it? Snap. Anybody? Anybody? Is this thing on? No? Just me? Okay. Moving right along then. The next scene we see is Tony Stark and Nebula, and they're drifting through space. Apparently after the snap happened, him and Nebula tried to make their way back to Earth, and the spaceship had run out of fuel. So now they're literally just drifting through space with the oxygen levels depleting as well as food resources depleting. They are in dire need of a rescue. So conveniently, right before they're about to run out of oxygen and food, Captain Marvel comes through in the clutch, takes their entire spaceship and brings them back down to Earth. So they get back to Earth and they're talking about how they lost. Tony Stark is like pissed, like he's mad. He ends up ripping out his Iron Heart thing or whatever and collapsing to the floor. So now everybody's trying to figure out where they're gonna find Thanos and how can they track him down. And if they do find Thanos, how do they know they're not gonna get washed again? So they all jump in a rocket ship, head to space, head to the planet where they think Thanos may be, where the Infinity Stones were used again. And Captain Marvel goes and does recon, and she finds out that Thanos is alone. He has no army, no defenses, no satellites, nothing. It's literally just Thanos on the planet by himself, no other signs of life, nothing. So Thanos living his best life. He's chilling, he's making his breakfast, he's picking fruit, he's seasoning his food, he about to throw down, and then Avengers just roll up on him like, Alright, so after they jump Thanos like he was in the wrong hood wearing the wrong colors, they ask him where are the Infinity Stones. He tells them he used the stones to destroy the stones. Everybody's like, nah, he's lying, he know where they at. Nebula says, well, my father's a lot of things, but he's not a liar. And when Nebula says that, Thanos turns to her and says something like, thank you, daughter, perhaps I was too hard on you, which kind of warmed my heart. I mean, you threw one daughter off the cliff, but at least you were nice to the other daughter who you were mean to her entire life. So I guess that kind of balances out. I don't know. Probably doesn't, but. So anyway, Thor chops off Thanos' head and it rolls on the floor like a coconut. And after he did that, Rocket said, what did you do? And Thor said, I went for the head. And if you guys were paying attention in Infinity War, that was the last thing Thanos said before he snapped was, you should have went for the head, because Thor had driven his axe into the chest of Thanos rather than going for the head and just chopping it straight off. So I thought that was pretty cool that they threw that in there. And when Thor chopped his head off, I was like, damn, like, so what's gonna happen for the rest of the movie? I mean, I was expecting the beef with Thanos throughout the entire movie, but you just chopped the man's head off at the start of the movie. It's sort of like when Johnny Cage got his naps neck in the beginning of Mortal Kombat 2, like, I didn't see that coming. Alright, so now there's a time jump. We see Captain America's running a support group for everyone who lost people in the snap. There's monuments and memorials all over the place. There's missing person posters all over. The world has lost half of its population and everyone's clearly still devastated, and no one's really over suddenly losing everyone. So now we're looking at an image of a basement, and a rat walks across a dashboard, and I guess he hits a return button, Ant-Man comes through the portal, and he realizes that he's been gone for 5 years and not 5 hours, which is what it felt like in that microscopic universe that he was in. He's walking through the city and he realizes what's going on, and that everybody's disappeared. He goes to a monument to look for his daughter's name. He sees his name and not his daughter. He realizes his daughter is alive. He goes and reunites with his daughter, and they're just ecstatic. His daughter is, of course, a teenager now, and he's just really happy that she wasn't one of the ones that was lost in the snap. So apparently Black Widow is running point on Avengers. She's meeting with the remaining Avengers, I think, the Rocket, Captain Marvel, just everybody who's left. I guess they have just separate assignments off in the universe. Captain Marvel's doing her own thing with her new Nissan Altima haircut, and they dismiss the meeting. Black Widow breaks down. I guess she's just stressed and sad and depressed that everybody's gone and there's no way to bring everybody back. That's when Ant-Man shows up and he tells him that he's been in a quantum realm for 5 years, but to him it only felt like 5 hours. And if time works differently in the quantum realm, that they may be able to figure out how to navigate that time, go back and save everybody from being snapped away. So the Avengers know that there's only a few people on Earth that can kind of help them out with figuring out how to navigate time in the quantum realm. They go to Tony Stark, who's now married. He has a kid with Pepper Potts. And Tony's living his life. He's cool, he's chilling. He ain't lose nothing in the snap. He's gained more than he's lost. So when they bring this shit to Tony, Tony's like, nah, I'm good. Like, stay where y'all at with all that. I don't want nothing to do with it. I'll do the math for you and all that, but I don't want, any parts of this. I didn't lose anything, well, except Spider-Man. But as far as the love of his life, he gained more in the snap than most people lost. So Tony doesn't want any parts of it. While doing this, they go to round up the rest of the Avengers that are, kind of scattered. Hawkeye's doing his own thing. He's off killing bad guys, back to his assassin ways. They go and find Hulk, who's, grossly out of shape compared to his normal physique. I guess depression finally set in between the first snap and him chopping Thanos' head off finally. So Thor was just really going through it. His beard wasn't kept. His hair was all over the place. He was drinking beer. And, I guess he ended up getting this huge beer gut. Like Thor just was in really bad shape and bad condition mentally and physically when they found him. So once they round everybody up, they all head to the past to retrieve the stones. They each only have enough Pym particles for one round trip each. Rocket and Thor head to Asgard to pick up the ether. Thor runs into his mom and has a real heart-to-heart with her. He tries to warn her about what was going to happen, and she tells him, no, I'm not supposed to know what's going to happen to me. Rocket retrieves the ether. Nebula and War Machine manage to get the Power Stone. They head back, but when Nebula hits her button for her time machine thing to go back, I don't know, it must have malfunctioned, or because she was on the same wavelength as Nebula from that timeline, it didn't work. They end up kidnapping that Nebula, taking her to the ship, and that's when Thanos, found out everything. Hawkeye and Widow head out to get the Soul Stone, and we all knew this was going to happen. As soon as I figured out that they were going to get the Soul Stone, we knew that one of them was going to have to die, because in order to get the Soul Stone, you have to sacrifice somebody you love. We saw Thanos toss Gamora off a cliff, for the Soul Stone in Infinity War, so we knew that one of them was going to have to die. Did anybody else find it hella convenient that they sent Black Widow and Hawkeye to go get the Soul Stone when those were the only two who were actually close and really did love each other? I don't know. Those are things that movies do to drive the plot forward. But, I'm not complaining. I'm just, pointing out that it's like, how convenient is it that the two people without any powers, got paired together to go get an Infinity Stone of all things, But it's whatever. So when they get to the top, Red Skull tells them that in order to receive the Infinity Stone, one of them must sacrifice the other, or sacrifice something that they love, which was clearly the other, in order to get the Infinity Stone. So they're going back and forth, talking and trying to debate and make their case for why they should be the one to sacrifice their life for the other. And right when they thought they had reached an understanding about who was actually going to jump, they realized that no, they're talking about the other one jumping. So they're fighting each other for the right to jump off of a cliff, where I'd have been like, shit, all right, thank you, I appreciate you letting me live, man. Have a nice jump. But they love each other just that much to where they're fighting to jump off of the cliff. Black Widow ends up getting the upper hand and she like dives off the cliff. But then Hawkeye, does something and he grabs her and she doesn't want to let go, and he ends up, finally, letting her go, and she falls to her death, and Hawkeye receives the Soul Stone. So now we have Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, and Ant-Man going back in time during the events of the first Avengers movie when the Space Stone, the Mind Stone, and the Time Stone were all in one city. So the Hulk goes and talks to the Ancient One, and he's trying to convince her to give him the Time Stone. But she's not having it. She's like, y'all not about to mess up my time. I don't care what's going on where you're at. Like, if you take this stone, you're gonna mess up my reality. She tells him that in the future, Doctor Strange actually willingly hands over the Time Stone to Thanos. And why would he do that unless that was the only way to stop him? So when he tells her that, she, does her little hand magic and gives Hulk the Time Stone. And while all this is going on, Captain America, Ant-Man, and Iron Man are trying to retrieve both the Space and Mind Stones. They manage to successfully retrieve the Mind Stone, but they fail in getting the Space Stone. And in order to do that, they have to go even further back in time to not only get the Space Stone, but get Pym particles as well. So that way they can come back to their current time. Iron Man and Captain America head back to the 70s. Captain America and Iron Man split up. Captain America goes to get the Pym particles. That way, when they retrieve the Tesseract, they can head back to their current time. Iron Man goes to retrieve the Tesseract, and while doing so, he runs into his father. And what I liked about the fact that Tony Stark got to have this run-in with his dad is that he really got to express how he felt to his dad, even though his dad didn't know he was his dad. Time travel's confusing. But y'all understand where I'm coming from on that. I enjoyed it. I'm glad they had their moment. I'm glad Tony got to get that off his chest, because sometimes you don't get to tell loved ones how you really feel about them, and then next thing you know, they're gone. So tell your loved ones that you love them while they're here. So Iron Man has the Tesseract, Captain America has the Pym particles, they meet up and they head back. So now we're back in the present. They realize that Natasha didn't make it. They're upset, they're crying, but they realize they still have a job to do. They take the Infinity Stones and Tony makes an Infinity Gauntlet, which I thought was weird because it's almost like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comments, but I thought there was only one place that could yield such a weapon, and Tony Stark's glove is not it. I don't know, whatever. But Tony Stark, one way or the other, makes a glove to hold the Infinity Gauntlet, and the Avengers are kind of like debating on who's powerful enough to not only wear the glove, but snap it and then not kill you. So Hulk puts the glove on, and of course it's causing him pain. He's hurting and all of that, but he does manage to get the glove on and snap his fingers. There's like a very audible sound that goes on, and I guess that brought everybody back. Meanwhile, Nebula, the fake Nebula, because they had switched earlier, the fake Nebula brings Thanos through the time loop, which I thought you needed a bracelet to come through. So how did Thanos and his entire army get through off of one bracelet? I don't know. I'm not gonna question it. Movie logic, whatever. So, because physics, Thanos manages to get an entire spaceship through the quantum realm, and as well as an army, and he goes up top, to the sky, and he sends like missiles, just raining down, just obliterates the Avengers headquarters. I gotta give it to Thanos. Like, I thought he was gonna jump down and start swinging and, killing people, but this man jumped out of his spaceship to pull up a seat to send somebody to go do his dirty work. This man literally sat down and waited like Cell in the Dragon Ball Z saga for somebody to come run it. So then Captain America, Iron Man, and Fat Thor come out the rubble, and they see Thanos posted up on their corner, and then they're like, what's Thanos doing on the corner? So now they run up on Thanos like, yo, Than, what's good, man? And then Thanos is like, see, this is why I shouldn't let y'all live, and this is why I'm not gonna let y'all live, because I gave y'all a chance to flourish, and what y'all do with it? Y'all gonna come after me when I was doing you a favor. I was making sure you had enough food. I was making sure you had enough water. But since you wanna be funny, let's run it. Come on. But I'ma chill before y'all think I'm on Thanos' side, because I was on the Avengers side and not Thanos. So Thanos was like, square up. So when Thanos said square up, they was like, all right, let's go. So they start jumping Thanos. They start throwing Marvel Ultimate Alliance combos on this man. Captain America then used his shield to, boost somebody up, and Thor used his lightning to go through Iron Man to shock Thanos. They pulling out all these dirty tricks to jump my man Thanos. But guess what though? They were still getting washed. They were still getting dried. They were still looking like a bunch of do-nothings, because it took 3 of them to even get a lick off of Thanos. Alright, so this is where this shit start getting crazy. Thanos does his crip whistle, his gang come out right behind him, they standing up, posted next to Thanos, ready to throw some combos too, and that's when you see the little Doctor Strange circles start appearing all over the place. Black Panther walks through, and every single Marvel Cinematic Universe character that you've ever seen in any movie, except for Lupita and a few others, but they showed up, and they was ready to squad up and ready to square up too. That joint was crazy. Even Wong's punk ass, now you want to fight Wong after you done ran and let Hulk get 2-piece, you ran back home, now you ready to show up and fight for the big finish, you ready to fight for the end game though, right? But you wasn't really willing to fight back in New York, and you literally watched Hulk get World Star stomped out and you ran. You got Black Twitter going in on Hulk because you left this man alone and he ended up getting washed, and now this man is a meme because of you, but now you ready to show up and fight for Endgame? Alright Wong, I see you though. So going back, they brought everybody back. And not only did they bring everybody back, everybody got to shine. We saw Black Panther, the Dora Milaje, M'Baku, his sister Shuri. We saw the Wasp come back. We saw Valkyrie from Thor. We saw the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man. Everybody was here. Everybody was ready to fight. One of my favorite parts of this entire battle was when Scarlet Witch finally ran into Thanos, and she said, I'm going to kill you, and you took everything from me. And then, you know what my man Thanos said? Thanos said, yo, I don't even know who you are. So when Thanos said, I don't know who you are, she was like, you about to find out about me right now. You about to find out about me right now. So Wanda takes these rocks and she just launches them at Thanos. She lifts him in the air and she starts tearing him to shreds, to the point where this man is calling, begging for help. This man asked his general to have the missiles rain down and just kill everybody because he knew that he was in trouble. He knew Scarlet Witch was gonna tear him to shreds. How you start something and then when you lose, you start calling for help. So then we see just a barrage of missiles fly down and they just hitting everything. Everything's blowing up. Everybody's flying all over the place. And then the missiles just stop coming and they start going towards the sky. And then they say they send something bigger. And then you see Captain Marvel coming. The missiles are trying to hit her, but they ain't phasing no Captain Marvel. She got her little new Nissan Altima haircut. She's destroying spaceships. Everything. She's knocking armies down. She's knocking piles of people away. She's doing her thing. Like, she's truly Captain Marvel in this portion of the film. Like, we see her at her true strength. So with all this going on, they're like still relaying this gauntlet, and I want to say at one point, Spider-Man had it in his hand, but then he was like, I don't know how I'll get through this. Something happened. Whatever happened, it was a 3-hour movie. So forgive me for my details being a little off or incorrect. But then I think all the female Avengers were like, I got this, or we got this, and it was like sexy walk, sexy walk, sexy walk, and I'm like, okay, I get what y'all were trying to do there, but bring it back a little bit. I understand the whole female empowerment, I'm for it, but it was like, it just was it was obvious, but I thought it was cool at the same time. Like, I was like, all right, that's dope. That was hard right there, that was dope, but like, did you really have to, did everybody have to sexy walk in the battle? Come on, like, I'm pretty sure y'all could have just ran and screamed. Y'all didn't all have to be like shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. But I thought the moment was cool. Well-deserved moment for all the ladies of Marvel. Just really wish Black Widow could have been involved in that moment, because I feel like with her being the first female Avenger, I feel like it would have been perfect for her to kind of lead that charge of female Avengers, attempting to relay that gauntlet to wherever it was they were bringing it at the time. But I enjoyed that portion of it. I just thought it was like really funny. They were like, we got this, sexy walk. Like, come on, y'all. There was also a moment where Iron Man and Spider-Man ran into each other, and I thought it was such an endearing moment to see the relief on Tony's face that Spider-Man was okay, and he was just so relieved, and they embraced each other. And I thought that was such a cool and well-earned moment, because we know how Iron Man was Spider-Man's mentor, and him, sponsoring his gear and making his equipment and stuff like that. And they were, not only that, they were close. Tony really loved Spider-Man, and Spider-Man really loved and appreciated Iron Man. So that, to me, that embrace was well needed, and I really, that's one of my top probably 10 moments of that entire movie, was that embrace between Spider-Man and Iron Man. Alright, so now we're nearing the end of the battle. The gauntlet is kind of like being hot potato between different Avengers and Thanos, and they're trying to keep it from him. Captain Marvel, gets a hold of, I guess, Thanos, and they're battling back and forth. And I think either he punches her or he headbutts her, and she just eats it like nothing happened. Like I think her eyebrow raised slightly, like after he headbutted her, like really? And then he took the Soul Stone out and just like launched her. He punched her so hard, she went flying. Like, you ever play Super Smash Bros. Like, and did like a sudden death, and like when you get hit with anything, you go flying off the stage? That's that's how quickly Captain Marvel flew when Thanos like lumped her. All right, so now we get to the part of the movie that just absolutely, it sucks, man. I can't even, there's no other way to put it. It just freaking sucks. But Thanos and Iron Man were wrestling for the gauntlet. Thanos gets the upper hand, he snaps. He realizes that the stones aren't in there, because when he snapped, it went clink. And he turns it over and realizes there's no stones in there. The camera pans over to Tony. Tony has all the stones in his glove. Tony snaps his fingers, and of course, him being immortal, he can't handle it, and he dies. But as he's dying, he has a chance to have another moment with Spider-Man, Peter Parker, which was absolutely beautiful, well done, well acted, well executed. And he has another moment with his wife, Pepper Potts. She tells him it's okay, you can rest now, we'll be okay. And Tony passes away. And just going back a little bit, when Tony snapped his finger, we see all of Thanos' army disintegrate into that dust that we saw in Infinity War. We see Thanos sit down, hold his head down in shame, because he knows that he's lost, and he knows that this time it's truly over. And he just fades away in the dust. And now we're at Tony Stark's funeral with all the Avengers present. They're sitting around watching a holographic image of Tony Stark, kind of like saying his goodbyes should anything go wrong. And he tells his daughter, I love you 3000. Like that whole scene was just like heart-wrenching, man. Just to see how many people were affected by the death of, Tony Stark. I mean, in all the Avengers, every single death was sad, but something about the death of Tony Stark was like, it was heart-wrenching. That's the only way I could use, that's the only words I can use to describe how this death affected the Marvel Cinematic Universe characters. Captain America heads back to the past again to return the Infinity Stones to the exact place and time where they borrowed them from in the first place, in order to reset the universe back to how it should be, so that way time won't be messed up. When it comes time to bring Captain America back and they flip the switch, he doesn't come back. So then we see an older gentleman sitting on a bench in the background. Falcon walks up to him and they're having a conversation, and he realizes that it's Captain America. Almost immediately, Captain America states that he decided to stay in the past and live the life that he never got to live, the life that was robbed from him when he ended up going into the ice. Falcon says, he's happy that Captain America got to live the life that he always wanted to live, that he never got to live, but he's sad that he has to live in a world without Captain America now. And that's when Captain America says, well, that reminds me, and he gives him the shield, and I'm assuming that Falcon is going to be the new Captain America. And from there, they're just really showing all the characters and their endings, and Thor giving Asgard over to Valkyrie, and going with the Guardians of the Galaxy. We see Black Panther, his family overlooking the skyline of Wakanda. We just see everybody's like kind of sort of happy ending. We see Ant-Man, Wasp, and Ant-Man's daughter just chilling, just enjoying each other. We just see from there how everybody got back everything that they lost, except for Pepper Potts and Tony's daughter, who actually lost something after everybody was brought back. But that's how the movie ended. Captain America was dancing with Peggy Carter, and it just faded out. And of course, we all know there's no end credit scene for this phase, because it's the final movie of this phase. I'm gonna be completely transparent with you guys right now. I didn't watch a single trailer for Infinity War, I didn't read any news. I wanted to go into it completely blind. This way I had an unbiased opinion, or I didn't have any kind of expectations for this movie. And when the plot kind of turned into a time machine kind of thing, I was really disappointed, because there are very few movies with time travel that I actually do enjoy. That's just me being 100 with y'all. Time travel for me can be very confusing. I hate when television shows do time travel episodes. I hate amnesia episodes. That's just how I've always been. Like, stick with the linear timeline, please. That's just how I've always been. But I'll say that I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I don't know if it was the 11-year build-up that led to Endgame. I don't know if it was just my favorite characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe just showing out during that final battle. I don't know if it just was the fact that they did a really good job writing this movie, the pacing and all of that. I just really enjoyed this movie, and I normally don't, and I really don't enjoy movies normally that involve time travel. And that's a wrap. Those are my thoughts on Avengers Endgame. Let me know what you thought about this video down below in the comments. Did you enjoy Avengers Endgame? If so, what was your favorite part of the movie? Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Later days.